Los Angeles listeners, here's a heads up. I will be in town August 15th with my friend, the chef Dookie Hong. We are doing a Korea World cookbook collaboration dinner with the legendary chef Suzanne Goen at her downtown restaurant Cala Verde. Dinner is $95 and includes a copy of Korea World. To book, you can hit the link in the show notes, and I really hope to see you there.
It's a testament to the way that Baldwin lived his life, the fact that all of this time has been dedicated to talk about him 100 years after he was born. That's proof of a life that was pristinely lived, you know?
This is Taste. I'm your host, Eliza Barbanel. Cree Myles is the curator of the Black literature community Always Black and the host of the James Baldwin Centennial Podcast, a new podcast from Vintage Books examining James Baldwin's life and words to commemorate the centennial of his birth. She's also one of my favorite sources of book recommendations, and it's so fun to have her on the show to talk about the intersection of food and literature. Cree Myles, this is Taste. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
I'm so excited.
It's so fun to have you here in New York. We met for the first time over the internet and then in Milwaukee because you're a friend of my uncle's, who I asked him if I could mention this on the show, and he said yes.
Good, because I didn't know. We had to mention David.
I got consent, yeah. I said,
okay.
Is it okay if we talk about you? We'll say nice things. And he said, I hope you would say nice things.
David is so many things to me. One, I love reference. We talk about books a lot, which is wonderful and refreshing to be able to do that with someone who's not in the book space. And he puts me on to the classical music. He's also my 14-year-old's classical music buddy. He's just a part of the family.
He's like the Jewish uncle that you never had.
Literally, absolutely and literally, yes. I know he's your Uncle David, and as I was thinking you were going to call him Uncle David, I was like, do I want to call him Uncle David? I have to ask him.
Yeah, that's another consent thing.
Yeah, that's another consent thing.
Hopefully. So Milwaukee is where you and my Uncle David both live, which is one of my favorite cities to visit. Yes. I'm curious if you could maybe tell folks who are not familiar what the Milwaukee food vibe is, maybe where you would take them for the day if they've never been before.
Yeah. So I am a mostly plant-based person. I generally don't turn away food when people offer it to me. So that kind of informs the places that I go eat. There's a place close to my house on the east side called Strange Town, and it's all vegan. It has this flourless chocolate cake that is, I dream about it. And then there's a place on the southeast side in a community called Bayview that all of my pregnancies, I dreamed about their oyster mushrooms called Good Kind that I also deeply, deeply love. And then for the bougie people, there's Odd Duck, that if you want to drop a bunch of money and et cetera. But we usually stick to the more niche spots, I think.
Yeah, I want to hear more about the oyster mushrooms. How were they prepared? Was it just straight up mushroom?
They're fried.
Okay. Yum.
So yeah, it's just a straight up mushroom. There's some type of sauce involved, like a clearer, thinner sauce, like brown, thin sauce. I don't know what kind of sauce it is. I was telling them food is such an indulgence in my life that I at this point, because of the 72 children that I have, that I'm just eating to. I'm just eat to live.
You're eating whatever they're eating.
Whatever, right, exactly. So I don't know what the sauce is called, but it's delicious.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I'll have to go there the next time in Milwaukee. What I do when I'm in Milwaukee is eat a lot of frozen custard.
Yeah. Oh my God. Right, Cops. Shout out to Cops.
Is Cops the one that has the giant statue of a fork inside? Or maybe it's a spoon. That would make more sense. It's kind of by the sculpture
There's a couple
garden.
of them. So
yeah, it's a chain restaurant.
Maybe one of them might have a giant utensil inside of it. There's cows on the outside. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. I love that, and also Honey Pie. I think is that brunch place.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The soul food.
Yeah. And really buttery crust, flaky pies. Also, I feel like Milwaukee, you can't talk about it and not talk about beer and bars because I think it's the most bars per square capita in the entire country.
That's what I've heard, yeah. And cheese curds.
Yeah. Are you pro cheese curd as a plant-based eater?
I love cheese, yes. But like the reality around the veal industry is terrible, but cheese is delicious, yes.
Yeah, and like a squeaky, fresh cheese curd.
Oh, I like them like fried.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? As a child, squeaky, fresh cheese curds everywhere, but like it's like the fried ones where like the cheese is melted and then, like from Culver's.
Texture thing.
Texture. I'm into that. Yeah.
Okay. We could talk about cheese curds all day, but I want to talk about the reason why you're here in New York at the Penguin Random House offices, which is that you're recording a new limited podcast, the James Baldwin Centennial Podcast, which, as the name suggests, is exploring James Baldwin's life and his words around the 100th anniversary of his birth. And you're getting to have all these really cool conversations with like Roxane Gay and Jessica B. Harris, who we love here at Taste.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, like, what the experience has been like for you so far. What drew you to this in the first place?
Well, one, shout out to Shalia and Stephanie Bowen for all that they've done to make this possible.
Yeah, Shalia, who's our producer, one of our producers here at Taste, is also producing your podcast.
Yeah.
Is in the studio with us right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's been so much fun to spend the times like this. Production days are long and taxing by nature, and I knew that from previous production, so I came in prepared. But I just think it's a testament to the way that Baldwin lived his life, the fact that all of this time has been dedicated to talk about him 100 years after he was born. That's proof of a life that was pristinely lived, you know? His commitment to truth and honesty and liberation, it's been such an extraordinary privilege. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sure it's really special. And also probably a lot of preparation goes into it. How did you handle trying to talk about the history and context for his life and then also the reasons why it's relevant to discuss it in the present?
Yeah. I mean, I think my entry point for literature in the first place and my love of it is because I like old literature. I read Bluest Eye when I was 25, which was 9 years ago. And it came out, in 1970. And it had such a profound impact on me. It really showed me how timeless some themes can be, especially around representation and identity. So I knew all the things that Baldwin has talked about as far as his Blackness and his queerness and his political ideology, all of that. I knew that it was going to be timely, one, because we move at a glacial pace around reformation that needs to happen, and two, because the truth is just always relevant, and that's what he was doing. He was telling the truth.
I love that. I'm just sitting with the truth is always relevant because I think not enough people hear that or internalize that. Have there been any particularly illuminative conversations that you've had during the recording sessions?
I mean,
all of them. Yeah.
Right. Okay, one, I had Robert Jones Jr. coming in. His suit was fire, first of all, which I knew it was going to be. Also, his loafers. And
wait, what color was the suit?
It was a pattern, a floral pattern.
Springtime.
Springtime. It went crazy. And he's got this salt and pepper situation going on that he used to not have on his beard. He looks so great. We were like, Robert, you look wonderful.
Yeah.
It's working.
We love it.
But to hear him talk about he went back to school to get his undergrad for writing in his 30s and was in a classroom with 18 and 19-year-olds, and the grappling that he had to do with belonging and validation, and finding Baldwin at that time in his life and getting so excited that he makes this 300,000 person community on the internet, and then getting so excited that you write a book that's a finalist for a National Book Award. Just that's the impact of Baldwin. It makes you go after the thing that you want with a fire in your soul. Dr. Harris slowly breaking down to us, getting read the rough draft of If Beale Street Could Talk in his house in the south of France while she was rooming with Toni Morrison is what? I can't, I couldn't even. So, yeah, those two. Dante Stewart was phenomenal. Everybody's just phenomenal. Roxane Gay, Kevin Young, he was so wonderful. I hadn't even talked to Kevin Young before. It was all wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to you and the whole team that was booking that lineup, because that's
Listen,
all-star.
All-star. With the day that I found out we got Roxane Gay, I think I fell out of my chair. So yeah, absolutely.
I love that. And I want to obviously talk more about Jessica B. Harris's meals with James Baldwin, considering the nature of this podcast. Yeah. And not only just the stellar lineup of people that were dining at James Baldwin's welcome table with her, but also just the food and the moment in dining that was happening in the 70s in the south of France.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it relates to just like so many other things. I'm curious, like, if she talked at all about what they were eating together, or how you see like dining and food fitting into what was informing Baldwin at that point in time.
Yeah, she talked about that he was just in the world. Like, no matter where he went, he would have the meal of the place and just like fully indulge in it. It was really beautiful to hear her talk about that. And I do think it lended itself to how he just lived fully in general. Like, the way that he tells truth and the way that he leans on love is just completely in line, like, with how he participated in eating. And his commitment to this welcome table and building community around meals. And it sounds like he was aligned, like the way that he lived, the way that he spoke, the way that he created his art were of one.
Yeah, definitely like rooted in the present and the beauty that can only come from being in one point in time.
Yes, exactly. Because she talked about him eating with him in Europe. She talked about eating with him in New York. She just talked about all of the different places that they have broken bread together.
Yeah, I love that. And saying broken bread reminds me of a quote of Baldwin's that I was revisiting in preparation to talk to you, that I just wanted to read in case other people maybe haven't heard this before, because I think it says so much about Baldwin and obviously about food. Although I'm nervous to read in front of you now.
Mind me? Oh, no. I jumbled over. Shalia could tell you. Every time I had to read a quote, I was like, like it was not happening.
Okay, we'll see how it goes. So this is from his essay, The Fire Next Time. And he says, "To be sensual, I think, is to respect and rejoice in the force of life itself, and to be present in all that one does, from the effort of loving to the breaking of bread. It will be a great day for America, incidentally, when we begin to eat bread again, instead of the blasphemous and tasteless foam rubber that we have substituted for it. And I'm not being frivolous now, either. Something very sinister happens to the people of a country when they begin to distrust their own reactions as deeply as they do here, and to become as joyless as they have become." Which I was reading that and I was just thinking about so many things, one being just the poor quality of food that's available to people in America, specifically Black people in that period in time. Also, just like the fetishization of European bread that I feel like people have even still today.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, oh, I went to Europe and the gluten didn't bother me at all.
Yes. Oh my. Yes. And honestly, the separation, the divorcing of like Black people from the participation of creating the food, of farming and gardening, because of the shame that it brings up around enslavement.
Definitely. And also the fact that people are being taught not to trust their experiences, the way that they perceive things, like not being able to acknowledge that the bread isn't of good quality, that it's stale, or that it's not from good ingredients, and that when you dull your senses to that, you dull yourself to wanting more out of life in other ways as well. Oh my God. Yes. You know what I've been meditating on recently is there are people around me who will swear that they're picky eaters, or whatever. But the actual truth of the matter is that they are addicted to sugar and salt. And there is a direct correlation in some of the people that I'm thinking of between like their relationship with sugar and salt specifically and their relationship with like the pursuit of a full life. As in, they're overly pursuing it, or they're not pursuing it? They're not. They're just kind of like content with like, they like thrive in overstimulation and like procrastination. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think I've always been like preoccupied with the idea of picky eating, in part because I was a picky eater growing up in some ways. I didn't like dairy and I didn't like eating eggs. Mm-hmm. And now I love dairy and I love spicy things and some things that I really didn't like as a kid. But I just do not like eating eggs, and I don't think I ever will. Mm-hmm. And being in food and like having that is always kind of funny because people love eggs. It's like one of those things. Staple, yeah. But then I think about other kinds of picky eating, and to me the idea of being scared to try something, to me I'm like, what if this could be your favorite food? Right. And you don't know. But then I think on the flip side, like what if you've eaten a lot of food that's just been bad, and so you don't want to try something new and be disappointed because you have the things that are safe for you. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I have to know, if you were going to cook for James Baldwin, what would you make?
So, yeah, when I was thinking about cooking, this is a confession hour. I don't cook at my house. My partner does 100% of the cooking.
What would you have him make for James Baldwin?
If James Baldwin was coming over, my father raises lambs, so I would take some of his lamb because that would feel like, oh, this is farm, like whatever, very ethically grown lamb. So something it would center around lamb, and then either like a red potato. I can see something like that happening, and just like asparagus.
Why red potatoes?
I don't know. That's what I just saw on the plate. I wanted
some color.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I think I would make for him.
And would you have your kids there?
Yes. I do generally, like when David comes over, his tolerance for my children are so high, I think in part because he doesn't live with young children, so he can just hang out with them and kick it with them. And I'm assuming it would be similar with Baldwin, though of course I'm not sure.
Yeah, plus you have to give your kids the experience of being able to say, guess who I had over for dinner last night?
James Baldwin. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not depriving anybody of that.
Okay, so what about dessert?
Well, my husband makes homemade ice cream, so that's always our dessert. I never know what it's going to be. Cashew, chocolate, banana, like what he just makes it, whatever's in the house, and it has never turned out poorly.
I love that. I feel like having the lamb that your father raised and the ice cream that your partner made is such a personal meal, which I think is the only way to go when you're feeding somebody that's so legendary. Is you're not going to, no disrespect to anyone, but you might not make better French food than James Baldwin has had before, but you can make something that only you can make.
From your heart. Yeah, and to that point, if I knew I could get him in late summer, I would totally pull something out of the garden too. So then whatever vegetable we're eating came straight out of the backyard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we're resuscitating Baldwin, he can definitely come in the summer for
Perfect.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'll talk to the powers that be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I want to talk about food writing and literature with you because I love your book recommendations and you're just such a voracious reader. I'm curious if there are any iconic scenes in food literature or moments for you?
Yeah. So because my husband's the cook, I had him because also I would like to say that he is a voracious reader. That's one of the reasons we fell in love. And so I said, do you have food books? Because I'm going to talk to Eliza and you are the cooker. And he said that he loves Afro-Vegan by Brian Terry, of course.
Yeah.
And he does love, if it's Sunday and Brian's got space, he will open up one of Brian's 3-hour recipes and just kind of go at it, which is really beautiful. And he also loves, this is so funny to me, Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential, which is,
Have you read that?
No, I didn't even know Brian had read it. But
Cree, you have to read it.
I have to read it?
Yeah. It's iconic.
Is it? Okay. All right.
Which I don't like recommending things just because they're important necessarily.
You gotta like it.
But he's a really singular writer. He has a great voice. And especially in the moment in time when that book was published, he was really pulling back the curtain on a lot of ways of how the restaurant industry worked. Or, maybe you don't want to eat the fish at the end of the week because the delivery comes on Monday or those kinds of things. Yeah. But he really is just kind of encouraging people to be unabashed in their appetites and to do things. And I think that the way that he's morphed as a figure in pop culture after death, maybe can be a little bit much sometimes. Yeah. But I do think the book, at least the last time I read it, it held up for me.
It's worth it. Okay. All right. I'll give it a go. And it sounds like it's in the house.
Yeah.
So I'm going to check it out.
I feel like kids' books are also another big uncharted territory of great food moments, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, things like that.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I'm trying to think, what have we... we're in our Frog and Toad era right now, for sure.
Oh, that's really cute.
It's so cute, and it's super wholesome, and those two make each other meals. It's really...
Well, they love each other.
They love each other, and
they're in a relationship.
Yes, they are. You said, we're going to call it. Yes.
Well, didn't the writer, I think it's canon that they're gay and that they're in love, right?
I never checked.
Now I'm going to do a really quick Google search.
No, because that's totally worth
Frog and Toad dating question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm reading this article about this, and they're talking about, I don't know if you've read this book, it's like the Christmas Eve Frog and Toad book.
Yes.
And Toad is like waiting anxiously at home for Frog.
Yep. Yeah, I read that.
You read this recently?
Read that one. Yes, that's so funny. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So he's waiting anxiously at home for Frog, and he's imagining all these like dramatic things that have happened to him.
Frog. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to tell it?
Oh, okay. Well, I can. So he is saying that he has to. Isn't it like he has to go out and he has to grab this thing to go get him because it'll be dark and he won't. So he's like collecting the things to go save Frog.
Yeah. And then Frog shows up at Toad's door with a gift in his hand, and he was late because he was wrapping it. And then Toad says, "Oh, Frog, I'm so glad to be spending Christmas with you."
I know. It was really cute. I teared up when I read it. It's so, yeah. It's a masterpiece.
Yeah, it is a masterpiece, and I guess like they make each other, I feel like it's British kind of like tea and crumpets and things like that.
All of exactly those type of things, and like take care of each other when they're sick. I think there was some soup involved at one point. So yeah, their meals, like I said, I really like the throwbacks when it comes to literature. That's really what draws me to it in the first place, and I love the illustrations of like food, and I love like when it's described because even this isn't my favorite like food moment in literature, but I always think about these ash cakes that Ta-Nehisi Coates references in The Water Dancer, and I'm like, or like a Turkish Delight from Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
Do you like Turkish Delight?
I've never had it.
Okay, I'm scared to have another.
Shalia
said no. That's what I'm almost going to say this too, is you read it as a kid and you think it's going to be the most amazing thing ever. And then you actually have it in, I don't know if you like squishy like things, Okay. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I was just talking to the novelist Selena Baljeet Basra on the podcast. She had a great book called Happy that came out last year. And she lives in Germany. She's Indian, and she was talking about how growing up she read a ton of like British children's books because that's what is in a lot of like the schools and in the families in India, and so she would read about like Turkish Delight or tea and crumpets and all of these things that she thought would be so delicious, and then she actually tried them and she was like, actually this isn't as good as the writing made me think it was going to be.
Yeah,
which is so funny because I do think about, especially when you're reading old books, there are things that are described in this way that the same way like a character is being described, or it's adding into the fantasy, but then when you actually eat it, it's quite different than what you think.
Because even looking up the ash cakes, like looking up an ash cake recipe, it sounds terrible.
Yeah, what is an ash cake?
It's like just like cornmeal and water. Like it's just like to fill your stomach so that you survive. So I was like, oh, that's terrible.
I'm curious like how you would even describe like what makes good food writing to you, because I think for me, like you can say it doesn't use the word delicious, or it's talking about your senses, but like it's kind of a difficult quality of like something that is special.
Yeah. I was talking about this with Dr. Harris actually, and I think it sets you firmly in the place. So like when we were talking about Baldwin, Giovanni's room, we were in the cafes in Paris when he was describing like the drinks that were coming out and what was coming out with it. In Go Tell It on the Mountain, the after church meals, like one that is a cultural experience that I think I share with Baldwin, and I just so distinctly see it, and it is very fascinating how little it's changed in the many years that the Black church has existed. So I think that's like a number one quality, is it puts me deeper into the room than I would have been if the food hadn't been there.
I love that. What would you say are like the core elements of the Black after church meal?
Okay, definitely need those like the rolls, like the cheap rolls. You know what I'm talking about, Shalia? Are we in on this?
We've upgraded.
Like break apart.
Oh, see, we've upgraded to like. Are you talking about the brown and serves?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love a brown and serve.
Okay,
are you kidding me?
You need a brown and serve. You need some green beans. If this is all happening on one of those styrofoam plates with the dividers.
The different compartments.
Yeah, the different compartments. And you need, I distinctly see these two things. Oh, maybe some like potato salad. I'm seeing potato salad. And some type of ridiculous meat. Like that's got way too much sodium in it.
How about a dessert situation? Because I won't go to a church meal or repast without a church lady pound cake.
Oh, I know listen, I have a great Aunt Rose who makes a 7-pound cake.
Like a 7-Up cake?
Yeah, no, 7 pound. Like
it's
the
just
amount
gigantic.
Of butter.
Oh, literally.
Yeah,
7
it's
pounds.
because it's so dense.
Is it 7 pounds just of butter or is 7 pounds of everything?
No, like it's the butter and the sugar, and it's not actually 7 pounds. I think that's just the lore because it's so.
Oh, it'll make you gain 7 pounds?
Maybe like a piece, but oh my God. Now I'm thinking about it, and I'm going to text my mom and be like, can you make one of these in the next month, please? And it would be really fun to actually turn that into a strawberry shortcake. Like instead of having the shortcake as the base, having the 7 pound cake as the base. Yes.
Oh, I like where your head's at.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Shalia, while we have you on the mic, I want to know what you would serve James Baldwin if he came over for dinner.
So I don't know exactly which street he grew up on, but I know he spent like the Schaumburg on 135th was his local library.
Mm-hmm.
And that's around my block. So I know we lived in the same area. So like if I had him at home, it would be like a little bit of a homecoming.
Yes.
So I think it would be fun to serve him. Oh, I know exactly what I would serve him. So we were talking to Dr. Harris, and one of the things that she really wanted to impress upon us was that although he came from this culture of Black foodways, there's so much more than just soul food that counts as Black foodways because there's regionality and et cetera. I have been playing around a little bit at home with certain very traditional foods, but trying to do them in new ways.
Mm-hmm.
So for a New Year's party this year, I made Hoppin' John, which is your collard greens,
black eyed peas,
and then pork of some
Yep.
kind. But I put them into an arancini ball.
Whoa.
And it was really, really, really good. And there was a remoulade sauce with it.
What?
And it was fantastic. And it was a hit at said New Year's party I went to. And I think that he would like it. I think it would make him happy.
Shalia, that's almost a gentrification of the Hoppin' John, except you.
I think I'm allowed.
I know. It's because you did it. But now that's going to end up on the Food Network.
Okay.
Listeners of this podcast, that's Shalia's idea alone. Do not take it.
That's
if anyone else
brilliant.
does it, it will be bad.
Anyone else does it, it'll be bad. Only Shalia can do it.
So it's your chopped final dish, you know?
I think it is. I think it might be.
Game changer.
So I love that you would be taking Baldwin to Harlem also. I'm curious, obviously it's changed a lot since he lived there. Where would you take him after dinner if you were going to have a drink or see the neighborhood?
I think I would take him to this place called Sugar Monk, which is I think it's between 124th and 125th. I haven't been there in a minute. And Frederick Douglass. And it's this cute little speakeasy where it's you literally go in one of the metal doors and sometimes it's open, sometimes it's not, sometimes you have to knock. But they're this really wonderful, refined cocktail bar, and they do these really artisanal drinks, and they do jazz, and the lights are low, and it's the whole velvet couch situation. It's very small and intimate. There's a bar, and maybe there's seating for 15. It's, from what I remember, it's really, really tiny. And I think it would just be a good vibe. I know we talked about he would in restaurants he would go and rent out a back room somewhere and just hold court in these really intimate spaces and just have friends come through. And I think this is a place that he could easily do that at.
Yeah, I love the sound of that. And you could also text your friends and say, guess who I'm at the bar with? Come through.
Absolutely.
A selfie.
Yeah, a 0.5 selfie.
Yeah, there it is. Yes.
Really, it just raised the ante right there.
Oh, I love that. I love it.
Yeah, so we could keep fantasizing about this all day, but this is a podcast, so
he said we
must
keep it moving forward.
Yeah,
yes.
we're gonna keep it moving,
Yeah.
and to keep it moving at the end, I want to play a little rapid fire taste check with you. So
Yes.
I'll give you some categories, and you can just tell me the first answer that comes into your head, Cree.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes, I think.
Okay. Favorite cookbook?
Bryant Terry's Afro Vegan.
I love that book too.
Yeah.
Your favorite piece of James Baldwin writing?
If Beale Street Could Talk.
Your favorite Milwaukee restaurant?
Good Kind.
Your favorite Milwaukee bookstore?
Rooted, MKE.
Your favorite non-Milwaukee bookstore?
It's called Verbatim Books. It's in San Diego. It's beautiful.
Were you there recently?
No, it was at the top of my eldest child's homeschooling career. We went to Whale Watch. And of course, we stopped at a bookstore.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, your favorite snack while reading?
I love this question because I've been struggling to get the right snack. Right now, we just kind of keep it cute with like vegetables and hummus, but I need something smaller.
Yeah.
So I've been working on, but I don't want it to like compound calorically or sodium wise.
Yeah.
So I'm trying. I mean, summer it would be easy. It would be like grapes or something. So.
I was going to say frozen grapes is my go-to in the summer.
Frozen grapes.
Yeah.
That's iconic.
And then they're also not as wet on your fingers for the pages.
Right.
Thinking about books.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Noted.
Okay. Your favorite place to read?
Right now, I just read on my couch. We are in the process of starting to like build our library. So I bought the furniture for that already. It's sitting in our living room in a box, and it's going to be that giant pink chair. I'm ready.
I have a pink chair that I read in also.
Period.
Everyone knows. Okay, the most overrated ingredient.
Oh, sugar. Yeah.
Your favorite food scene in literature?
Rent-free in my head, the dinner scene in Real Americans by Brandon Taylor is so legendary. That's it.
I'm going to close on that. Thank you so much for coming on, Cree. This was too much fun.
Thank you so much, Eliza. Have a good one.
What's up, Eliza? We're back. Let's talk about 3 things.
Okay, you want to start?
I'm going to start with these 2 Indian snacks that have captured my imagination and my palate. One's called Dusra, and it's a mix of chickpea flour puffs seasoned with a bunch of spices, roasted peanuts, and they throw in white chocolate like chunks that are caramelized. It's salty sweet to the fullest. I love it. The other one is our friend Adit Patel from Confusion Snacks, Mr. Popcorn. He had like this incredible line of popcorns that like this masala chop popcorn that I loved. And I met him at Fancy Food a couple of years ago. He is now selling peanuts, chili chot roasted peanuts. And I really like those, and I like what he's doing. So I have 2 Indian style snacks I want to shout out.
Well, I want to eat both of those, and I will follow up with a packaged good of my own.
Oh, what you thinking?
Tinned fish, specifically little neck clams from Island Creek Oyster Farm.
Yes.
They've recently gone into the tinned fish game, I think smartly seeing the way that kind of trend has just became a permanent thing for everyone, and they're doing these clams with confit, garlic, chili, and olive oil. I made a really good clam pasta with them over the weekend, just kind of like a quick pantry meal. And I really liked the texture of the clams. I felt like they were, not too chewy at all and very like plump and satisfying. So that's my first thing.
I love a tinned fish discovery. I feel like there's like the big boys that we hear about. Then you got like this new one.
Yeah. And I
it.
feel like especially to be offering like a bivalve, like not just a sardine or a tuna, but getting into that school of tinned fish is cool.
Okay, my next one, I'm still in the CPG train. I was over at Pop-Up Grocer checking out the shelves there. I love that place. And I came across this brand, Hey Champ. Have you heard of it at all?
No.
Hey Champ. I've done a little research, and I've found out that there's a pastry chef based in LA that's making these hand-dipped pretzel shortbread and salted caramel, brown butter Rice Krispie treats, and a miso caramel. These little snacks, they're little bite-sized packaged snacks, but man, they're really, really good. And I feel like getting hand-dipped CPG like products that you get on the shelf really is rare. I feel like I think about like mechanical this and that, but they're using 66% dark milk chocolate, and dare I call these grown-up candy bars?
What makes them grown up as opposed to a kid candy bar?
I feel like putting miso in there is like not really something like a 12-year-old is going to love, or an 8-year-old.
Maybe they will now that they try it.
They're great. I love Hey Champ. Linking to the show notes as we are all our products. Big fan. What's your next one?
My next one is that I finally went to Montague Diner over in Brooklyn Heights. Have you been yet?
I've read so much about this place. It's my old kind of neighborhood. I have not been. Tell me about it.
I really liked it. I think they're doing a couple of things really smart. They took over an existing diner in the neighborhood. And when I went in, it really seemed like the neighborhood had adopted it in the same way. They do a senior discount that they have on the menu. And there are a lot of seniors having their lunches when I was there. I sat at the bar, which I always like to do, and had my ultimate lunch, which was Arnold Palmer tuna melt.
Oh, dude. So there. I love that choice.
Yeah, it was really just solid and delicious. And I got to catch up with a friend. It also happened to be where I was when Biden announced that he was dropping out of the race. So I will never forget that I was in Montague Diner at that moment in time. But really, the tuna melt, I think, is worth remembering on its own.
I am thinking that this place has got like a little bit of like this nostalgic vibe, but it's been like like curated like a movie set. That's like the vibe I get from Montague Diner.
I mean, I would shoot a movie there if I wanted to. Yeah, the food is good too, you know?
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna make a stop there.
Yeah, I recommend it. What's your next thing?
Yeah, my last thing is another product I discovered at Pop-Up Grocer is Lexington Bakes. Our friend Lex Evans, he's changed his format completely. Instead of having these large brownies that are like $14, $12, he's selling these little pocket-size 2-inch by 2-inch squares. And they're each it's $20 for 4 packages. The format change is like really, really welcome because I thought the big brownies were a little too much to eat in one serving. But I love what he's doing. He's got a Cosmic Forest double dark chocolate with raspberry, and he's got this grain gluten-free one with raspberry as well. I just love Lex and his ability to bring brownies to a new plateau, a new height.
Yeah, I still haven't tried these brownies, but I feel like you mention them every so often. And they come in the freezer section?
They're in the cool section.
Okay.
It's not freezer, but they're in the cooler case. And you can heat them up or you eat them, as is. So.
Okay, I will keep an eye out for them.
Congrats. I love this product. He's done a great job. I'm a big fan. What's your last one?
My last one is, I feel like summer is a really good time to go to all of the restaurants in New York that are hard to get seats at because it kind of clears out. And so I finally got to go to Strange Delight, which my friend Hannah Whaley is the chef there. They've been getting a lot of great press. Actually, they just got a great New Yorker review yesterday. And I had just such a special meal there for many reasons. I had char-grilled oysters. Almost like escargot, like garlicky, breadcrumby on top. Super delicious. I had a fried shrimp sandwich on milk bread with a lot of like shredded lettuce, etc. But there's something I had there that they don't actually make in-house that I thought was really cool that I wanted to talk about, which is this one specific potato shape called a seashore flat. They are like a potato wedge, but flattened. So they have the shape of a potato wedge, but maybe half of the thickness. So it has a really good ratio of crispy outside to fluffy inside. I talked to Ham about them, and apparently they're the only restaurant on the East Coast that has them. There's a distributor who kind of sells them in like Florida area. And so you'll find them in the grocery store or at some local chains down there, but they convince them to somehow sell wholesale for them also. And so they do them in a basket with a béarnaise sauce that you can dip it in, and it really is the elite potato fry shape.
I love the idea that a processed, pre-cut, fried potato is taking center stage at a restaurant.
Yeah. Something that I really love about Ham that I think he gets into on his episode of the podcast that we did together is he's really not an elitist when it comes to food at all. And I think like that is kind of on display in the whole menu at Strange Delight. They have really high quality seafood. They're doing a lot of really cool chefy things there. They're doing a Ramos Gin Fizz, which is a cocktail that's pretty hard to find because you have to shake it for such a long period of time. So I think they kind of have this interplay. They have like the pizza oven from the previous restaurant that never actually opened there and a deep fryer. And those are the only two pieces of equipment in the kitchen, basically. So a lot of things are going in this pizza oven that they already have or in the deep fryer. And they kind of have this interplay between the two. So I would say go for the oysters, go for the sandwich, but get the seashore flat potatoes.
Super good. I love Strange Delight. I'm going to it's on my list, like top 3. I got to get there.
You should get there. Everyone should get there.
Thanks for sharing, Eliza.
Yeah, you too. This is Taste is hosted by Matt Rodbard and me, Eliza Abarbanel. The show is produced by Shalia Harris and Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for updates on all cool things happening.